How did you get involved in this work?
Growing up, health disparities has always been a problem for my family. My parents often went to the ER. They didn't really take preventative measures. We ate a lot of unhealthy food. Alcohol, tobacco, and drugs were seen in my family often as well. From that, it made me realize that prevention is something that I need to focus on. Therefore, I went and got my bachelor's in community health education so I could better educate my community on the disparities we see.
Tell us about your coalition.
Currently, as the Tobacco Prevention and Education Coordinator at HAP, I facilitate the Hmong Tobacco Free program. Here we facilitate a youth group called Pathways to Success, which is a culturally sensitive youth group for high schoolers in Ramsey County, where youth could come together, talk about their identity, both as a Hmong individual and as an American. And also they learn to become change agents within their community. So we're building leadership skills, team building skills, and confidence skills for the young folks. On the flip side of that, well, we get out into the community and provide basic tobacco education, such as educating the Hmong community on the current tobacco trends, such as the new data from the Minnesota Tobacco Survey on young folks, as well as educating and promoting them on tobacco cessation resources so smokers know where to go when they're looking for resources to quit.
Tell us what you've done to be culturally responsive in your prevention work.
One way that we try to be culturally responsive, especially with our young folks, is recognizing the challenges that they face. So one, for sure, being a young person of color and being targeted, for example, by tobacco companies and being from low-income communities. Another way that we try to be culturally relevant or sensitive to our communities is really adapting to communication measures that work for them. For example, for our older generation, we see a lot of Hmong elders liking to watch TV or listening to the Hmong radio, so we would try to do messaging through those channels. And the second way that we try to be relevant for young folks is using technology such as social media to communicate with them. Another way that we try to stay culturally relevant with our work is understanding the history of tobacco within the Hmong community. So as you know, the Hmong community came to Minnesota as refugees during the Secret War. During the Secret War, a lot of Hmong men were in the military, and that's one way of how they got introduced into tobacco. One way that we see tobacco use be seen in the Hmong community is traditionally at Hmong marriages and funerals. One way that Hmong men does to show respect and to kind of give honor to one another is by giving tobacco or commercial tobacco cigarettes as gift. This is a way to really show respect and masculinity. But at the same time, we see that these are showing mixed messages to young folks because it is a tradition. However, we have talked to families who started using money as gift giving instead of using cigarettes. But we're really thankful to see that a few family members have come to us and shared that they are using other alternatives, healthier alternatives to carry on this tradition, but not use commercial tobacco cigarettes. One of the challenges that we face when working with the Hmong community is oftentimes the community is very reactive as opposed to preventative. So one of the measures we try to do is educate our young folks on the disparities that we face and let them know that they are targeted as young individuals, but at the same time they could make these changes so they don't go through the barriers and challenges that their parents and grandparents went through.
How do you think sharing this will help others?
Sharing to be culturally responsive and sharing our stories in general are really important because change is really hard for all communities. But if you remember your community assets and things that make you strong, such I think the Hmong community in particular, we're really good at being resilient. Coming from war to being here in the U.S., adapting to different communities and cultures, knowing that is definitely our strength. recovery and having space to talk about our historical trauma really allows us to share our story and at the same time let other communities know that they're not alone and we can take this step from poverty to prosperity.